You can't lose yourself in a relationship because you're going to miss you, especially if the other person is making you feel responsible for their happiness. That's a toxic relationship if you have to be responsible for somebody else's happiness.
At some point, every man has to become not only aware, but accepting of the error of his ways in every facet of life, whether that's business, relationship development, platonic relationship, and intimate relationship. And also, when you put yourself in a position where you simply can't win, but you keep giving it optimal effort. And one such example of that is Steve Harvey, who has finally let some alpha words come out of his mouth when it comes to relationships. And it seems that maybe Steve may be tuning in to Dr. BOA a little bit. See, I can tell you anything. And if someone else tells you something opposite, you have no idea what to believe. But when you're in that situation, whether you make my decision or his decision, you are still going to find out the result of said decision. So if you take my advice in the situation and it doesn't work, guess what you're going to do next time? You're going to take his advice or someone else's advice. This is how we learn throughout life. But many times you're in situations, especially when you become a successful man, you're in a situation where the people around you aren't going to tell you the truth. They're only going to tell you what they think you want to hear. That keeps you being beneficial to them.
You can't lose yourself in a relationship because you're going to miss you.
Yeah, that's
At one point in time, you're going to go, wow, what happened to me?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to be by yourself to collect your thoughts.
Yep.
It's an overwhelming thing, especially if the other person is making you feel responsible for their happiness. That's a toxic relationship if you have to be responsible for somebody else's happiness.
Like I said all the time, Steve Harvey is an amazing motivator. He's an amazing guy to listen to when it comes to picking yourself up by your bootstraps and building yourself up into the best version of yourself in your business or whatever chosen profession it is that you want to tie yourself to in this life. And I would advise any young man, there are many men to listen to, but none of the men you listen to have accomplished the things that Steve Harvey has accomplished from so far distance down in the dirt. But when it comes to relationships, he knows about as much as a man's perspective on relationships as a monkey knows about flying an airplane, because his perspective has always been the woman is the prize. Until now. Now what you hear is a man who is giving information and instructions. And though he may not be saying verbatim that this is what I believe now, I have found the light, this is total opposite from what Steve has said before. He is finally realizing that at some point you have to be honest with yourself about you being the one who's doing all of the giving and none of the receiving in a relationship. And many men are in these situations where you give, and no matter how much you give, the woman is still intent on receiving more until you give all of yourself. And once you give all of yourself, the original you is lost. You don't give it and they give it back when they're done with you. No, you lose that version of yourself. Because here's the thing. None of us gets a do-over with time. So if you're taking your time being with someone and you waste 10, 15, 20 years, guess what happens? If you met them at 20, you're 40 now. Guess what you'll never be again? Your 20-year-old self. This is how serious it is when it comes to wasting time in situations that are not beneficial to you. You simply can't do it. None of us can. None of us can afford to do that. And so I tell men all the time, hey man, listen, build the life that you want to have for yourself. And if a woman fits into that life, fine. If she fits into the trajectory of that life, fine. But she must come in with the intent that this is the golden grail of her focus, determination, and drive. She should be focusing on what you're focusing on. Her goal should be your goal. Her dream should be your dream. Her job should be working whatever you want her to do in order to make that dream a reality or to continue that dream being in this realistic state. Because no matter what happens, it's all going to fall back on you as the man anyway. If you're single, it's going to fall back on you as the man. There are not as many people, if anyone, that are willing to help a man who falls off as there are who are willing to help a woman who falls off. Are we complaining about that? No, I'm just telling you to accept it as a reality. Don't believe that you could take the same risk that a woman could take and destroy your life over some foolish relationship and then believe that somebody's going to be there to help you pick up the pieces. No. When you look out on these streets and you look and you see the miscreants or homeless people, when you see them, the majority of them are male. Why? Because if you mess it up as a man, you probably going to be out there. You're on your own in this world as a man, and you better remember that. So even if you have a woman in your life, that woman is in your life because of the benefit that being in your life gives her. She's not in there to make sure that you don't fall off. She's not in there to make sure that she's there when you start tumbling down. No. What happens when you start tumbling down? Steve has already told the story before. When you start tumbling down, the same woman who's going to be there with you as long as you're on feet, when you fall off, that woman is going to flee the scene. And this is what you men must understand. And it's not just Steve who's dealing with this. Any man, if you are doing well and you meet a woman and you're in a relationship with that woman, when you fall off, that woman will be gone. Because guess what you lost? You lost the power that comes with paying the cost to be the boss. So when I tell men all the time, you pay the cost to be the boss in your own life, that way you will have experience with paying the cost to be the boss and not taking unnecessary risks that are going to rob you of that power or destroy that power, even deteriorate that power just ever so slightly. You don't want that to happen because you work too hard to put yourself in the position you're in. So as a man, you should always be who you are. There's no woman that's going to come along and suddenly she's so great that I'm no longer Dr. POA. I'm always going to be Dean, homie. No matter what a woman says, no matter what she brings to the table, I'm still going to be Dean. No one's going to ever say, Dean, whatever happened to you, man? They're not going to say that. It is what it is, and y'all better understand this as truth. As much as a woman will confess her love for you, as much as a woman will confess her loyalty to you, as much as a woman will confess her willingness to do and say whatever it is you want her to do and say when you're on, when you're building, when you're grinding, when you're growing, that same woman will forego all of those things and even forget about them at the very moment your momentums start slowing. You men had better understand this. Am I saying this is bad? No. Am I saying this is good? No. It just is. You see, truth is truth. And no matter how sentimental or emotional you want to get about it, man, truth is truth. And the truth of the scenario is that if you're a man in this world and you built yourself into the best version of yourself, then you must understand that people see you in a certain light that they're not going to see you in if you fall off, that they didn't see you in before you climbed the ladder. That's just the reality of it. You go into a room of people and you broke and they don't know you, you're invisible. You go into that same room of people and you got money, then everyone sees you. That's just the world we live in. And it's the same thing with the women you meet, man. No woman wants a man who ain't got nothing. If you got a woman and you ain't got nothing, then there's something else that she has in that situation with you that you're not even understanding. Maybe it's control. So if you living with a woman in her place and you cohabitating with her, no, you probably ain't giving up no money, but what you are giving up is control. You are giving up any type of superiority complex, which every man should be able to enjoy at some point in his life. At some point in your life, as a man, you should be able to wake up when you want to wake up. You should be able to go to sleep when you want to go to sleep. And you should be able to go buy whatever you want to buy. You should be able to avoid the people you want to avoid. Every man should experience at least once in his life where he ain't got to get up and go somewhere to a job where he don't even like the people there and the people don't like him. No man should have to be forced to work for a supervisor who doesn't like him. No man should have to be forced to work in an environment that is against him or his type. No one should be forced to do that. So I tell y'all like this, man. Never allow yourself to forget who you are. Because see, before you give yourself up to be with someone, you have to forget who you are first. How do you forget who you are? By being with someone who insists that you should change the way you are. By being with someone who insists that the way you are isn't the way you should be. By being with someone who insists that there's a better way to be and it's the opposite of what you are. By being with someone who says,
you're not good enough to be in a relationship with me, you need to change.
The woman should be doing the changing, not you. The woman should be making the adjustments to herself, to her outlook, to her personality, to whatever it is you need her to make an adjustment to. Now, if you're in a situation where the woman is in a position of power, where the woman paid the cost to be the boss, I ain't talking about you. I'm talking about you men out here who are like Steve Harvey, pay the cost to be the boss, come well equipped to pay the cost to be the boss, to manage everything, to take care of everything. And then you turn around and you still let a woman tell you, hey, you can't be that no more? Man, I'm going to be whatever I want to be. I ain't met the woman that make me want to change who I am. I love who I am. And I ain't met the woman that I'm going to ever love so much that I'm going to love her more than I love myself. That I'm going to love her so much that who she want me to be is who I need to become, because I'd rather do whatever I got to do to keep her than to be myself and she be gone. You can't do this, man. And honestly, this applies to women as well. Anyone in a relationship with someone who continually tells you that you don't measure up, then you need to flee the scene. Now, the caveat is when you know you have some things that need to work on, and that person is pointing those things out to you because you don't seem like you want to work on them. You understand? It's kind of like if you're not in shape and you're with someone who is, and they want you to get in shape. Don't take it personally. They're just looking at you saying, hey, you need to get about the ball on this. You need to take care of this thing. If you don't have any drive and determination, they're telling you, hey, you need to get about it. There's more you could be doing with your life, or you could be elevated to a higher level in your career. Then that person is just telling you for real what they see. But if you have someone around you who is telling you that as great as you are, you're not great enough for me, you need to leave that person, because eventually the more you stay, the more you are going to portray whatever role it is they want you to portray. And I'm going to be honest with you. There is no role that someone could put you in that you should ever be willing to make those compromises and sacrifices for if you are completely happy with yourself. Even if you're lazy, if you're happy being lazy, hey, don't let nobody convince you need to not be lazy. If you out of shape and you love that, hey man, don't let nobody convince you that you should be in shape. Just move on. What I am telling you is don't stay with that person if you don't agree with their assessment of you, because the only assessment of you that matters is your own assessment. And that's everybody. Male, female, dog, cat, rat, frog. You must understand that it is such a blessing for you to have developed yourself into who you are. And to look in the mirror and be proud of that person and be happy to be that person, it's a gift from the Most High, man. And there are many people out here who've got money, who've got fame, notoriety, popularity, however you want to put it. But when they look in the mirror every day, they absolutely detest the person that they see there. And 9 times out of 10, it's because they became who someone else wanted them to be. I'll tell you, man. They say there's no I in team. But I tell you, I is better than team if team is destroying I. Never lose you in us. Y'all comment down below and let me know what you think about this topic, man. I look forward to hearing what you men have to say. I'm out.
Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Simps claiming that they pimps, but they not though. Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Suckers claiming to be players, but they not though. Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Tricks acting like they max, but they not though. Alphas up, betas down, it's the motto. Betas claiming to be alpha, but they not though. Now I'm not gonna tell you, man, that you shouldn't value your woman at all. A woman does have value, but you can't overvalue her